Oh wait, it doesn't tell me FPS. Wait, does it tell you FPS? What FPS it records?
Yeah, it says at the bottom, it says live, if it's live, recording, CPU, whatever, and then it should say
And the
FPS.
advanced? The advanced or
Yeah, so it was in settings, video, that was it, settings and video.
okay.
And then common FPS values is what I found it under.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end this call now and start my fucking cast. Best of
Wait.
luck,
Wait,
boys
just
and
tell me.
girls.
I'm gonna. Okay, if after you exit, I will try one thing. Just tell me, and I'll just gather by your reaction whether it works or not.
Okay, so do I need to exit the call first?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, see you then. Incoming transmission from Cartman. In 3, 2, 1. Ah, guessed it fucking wrong. Come on, Carp. Let's just probably close this as well.
Jerob said swig GD swooty I am coming for that booty.
Hex a fucking lunt. Now that I know that works, is I'm now gonna have to exit Discord for my sake of mind. Excellent. So now let's get into the quality gameplay of Jace Fizz Jungle. Something you need to consider here is the team comps. We have a good mix of magic and physical damage on the red side, and on the blue side they do seem a little magic damage heavy, but they do have Jhin to add that armour there, and red team does only have Nasus as their tank, so let's get into the game once these people are loaded. Now, Fizz Jungle is an unusual pick, but after the recent changes to his W, he has become a lot more viable in the jungle, although I would say that it's still a pretty suboptimal pick. I think you would need to wait until the proposed buffs on the PvE before you'd actually consider playing Fizz Jungle and actually consider yourself a chance of winning. But we're in the game now, so let's see how
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Donwa on the Fizz Jungle gets going. Now, the Akali, well, I can see immediately that Heimerdinger is probably going top to face off against Nasus, so let's switch these two around now. And that would leave Akali and Katarina in the mid. Now, Katarina and Heimerdinger.
Minions have spawned.
Katarina into Heimerdinger would be a good matchup for Heimerdinger, but for Akali, I think in the early levels, it's going to be pretty rough for Akali. I would not be surprised if Katarina got a first blood. I think this is a very snowbally lane, so I think if Katarina plays well, can definitely get a snowball advantage. But then again, after Akali is level 6, if she has not been punished by Katarina, she's just going to ruffle stomp her. Let's see the matchup in the bot lane. Can actually get over there. In the bot lane, let's see, Draven Blitzcrank is going to be a pretty rough matchup for Jin. And oh, and immediately my prediction of the first blood in the mid lane has already happened. So let's go back to the replay feature to see how that went down. So let's see, starts off fairly normal. Kali not really respecting the daggers that Katarina leaves. Level 2 occurs. Kali made a big mistake. She auto-attacked Katarina when there were several minions nearby. Oh, and we've got a hook as well, but just a good trade for the red side. Oh, or maybe a bit more. Oh! A kill for the red side on the bot lane as well, so already a very good start. And we see here Donwar struggling with the blue buff on his early clear. Okay, it looks like he's struggling, but oh, looks like Graves is entering into his jungle, and that means that he's just going to have to leave. That's a pretty bad result for him. Graves is just going to completely wreck him in the jungle. Fizz cannot do anything to Graves in the early game, and unless Donwar gets an advantage on the Graves, I don't think he will be in a position to ever face him. Now we can see that he's gone for the full refillable option, which is probably for the best because Fizz does not have any sustain and he doesn't have a very good clear, so this is going to be a crux for it to get him through the jungle. However, with only the machete still, he's going to be a very slow clearer and he's going to have no effective stats. In the bot lane we see more trading going on. I would expect that after the first blood that Draven would have a very large lead. 500 gold lead, which is a pretty good lead at this stage in the game, but obviously since they haven't shopped. Oh, what's this? Another trade? Getting in aggressive, has to flash away, but Draven taking a tower shot on the back side of that trade, unfortunately, has kind of eliminated the advantage that they gained from it, apart from the flashes. That's a big wave, he's got a large CS advantage, but I expect if Jin is able to CS well that he'll be advantage. Now, back to looks like they're trying to trade onto Graves here, who's come in, walked into Donwar's jungle, and is currently just taking his raptors. Nothing Donwar can do because, well, it's Graves. Graves very strong against junglers who don't have very good players or indeed very strong early trading. You'll see here that Donwar is getting absolutely minced by these wolves, which is a very concerning sign. And the fact that he is level 3 when his mid laners are approaching their level 6 marks is again another concern. We'll have to see what build he goes for. The runic echoes would be my obvious choice, considering that their entire team is squishy, with the exception of Nasus. I don't really see, you know, a more burst is better. But oh, we have a kill in the bot lane. So here we go, and let's use the replay feature to find out how exactly this happened. So, oh, they went in for a trade bot, but they went in for an emboldened trade because they thought their jungler was coming down, but they went in far too early and Blitz gets punished with the ignite from Rakan. So honestly there was no reason for that trade to go down. Red side was extremely far ahead. This Blitzcrank just showing absolute greed given the circumstances. And now, how much gold does Graves have? That's going to be a pretty painful back. There's going to be a BF sword and boots. Yep, that's a pretty much ideal buy for Draven. Cool, let's see if there's anything going on the top half of the map. Oh, Akali. Down somewhat in CS and definitely losing in pressure. I would not be surprised if she got dove right now, is what I was about to say, but it seems that Katarina had my number before I could have it. Katarina now is immensely ahead in this game. She is up 1,000 gold, and considering this early in the game, that is a humongous advantage. And she has gone for, she hasn't even bought yet, but given her item, that it looks like both Katarina and Akali are rushing the Hextech Gunblade. I would definitely question why Katarina has rushed the lifesteal component first. I don't really see why trying to sustain against Akali seems a bit of a pointless endeavour, and it seems like you would just want to win the burst trade since you're winning, but you know, that is a particularly greedy build. Now, going back to the top lane, we see that Heimerdinger usually has the, you know, the better of it in these kind of matchups. He gets the poke from Nasus, but he is down 10 CS. Now, in fairness, you know, Nasus is able to CS his turrets, but if you look at the gold, Nasus is actually ahead in gold, and this is a very worrying sign that Nasus has not been properly punished. There's absolutely no reason why this should be happening, but there is a kill in the mid lane. But oh, there is now a gank in the top lane, so let's see how it goes. Oh, that's a good stun, and it looks like, yep, that is the trade kill, but Graves gets off another successful gank. Looks like Graves has actually been active on the map. Is he going to try and freeze away from Nasus? Yep, he is indeed, but oh, looks like the Fizz is here to punish him, and he... So looking at the Fizz's build, I can see that they've gone lethal tempo and are going for the Blood Razor. Now, I can see in theory why you might go for this build. With his new W, he does do a lot of damage if you're able to get multiple auto attacks off, but when you consider the team that he is against, in what world will Fizz be able to get off those multiple auto attacks? And I just don't think that's going to happen. He loses a duel, any duel against Nasus he's going to automatically lose, so that leaves him against Katarina, Graves and Draven. And what situation does the Fizz imagine that he'll actually be able to get off these multiple auto attacks such that it would be better than Runic Echoes, which is a very efficient buy after it was recently buffed? I have to say this itemization is incredibly poor, and considering he is already massively behind the curve, being, you know, 600 gold down on the Graves, this is a very worrying trend for Fizz. Now, in the bot lane, we can see that there was a trade of kills and Rakan picked up those. Looks like there is now a fight going on here. And Draven got a massive cash in out on Akali, who got caught out in the river between Katarina and Graves. Looking at the gold, he is now over 1,000 gold up. But, oh! The jungler for the blue side has actually come to gank, and that's certainly an advantage that they needed, because now hopefully they can punish this Draven off of CS. Katarina's still pushing the mid lane. She's up significantly in CS. They do have the same number of kills, but I imagine that Akali is only level 7 to Katarina's level 9, so I don't know why Katarina is taking the Raves when Graves is literally in her lane. Oh, looks like another kill on the bot side, so let's go back in time and see. So it looks like they have arranged for a dive. I think the Fizz massively overestimated the amount of damage, being very greedy, and I expect this to be a pretty painful trade for Akali. I'm not quite sure of that stopwatch. Oh, looks very bad for Heimerdinger. Oh, good flash away, and now I can see that Nasus did actually have flash in that situation, so the fact is that he didn't immediately flash after is exceptionally greedy, but all this trade in the very active on the map at the moment. Let's go back to that mid lane and see how this went down. So Katarina is only on 30% health. So that is showing massive disrespect to Akali. So really it's just a simple matter of, I imagine, Akali just... and the fact that Katarina actually starts on that engage is a very worrying sign. In any case, back to the bot lane. Actually, no, in fact, if we go back up to the... You'll see on your mini-map, actually, that... and there, in essence, you can see the issue with Donwa's build. There's no world in which he's able to get off a consistent number of auto attacks, fully utilising his lethal tempo against Graves. Personally, I think Electrocute would have been a much better choice. On Fizz, against these squishy matchups, you need burst. There is no world in which you win a sustained trade against Graves. And so I think this build is really punishing the Fizz pick in the jungle. Understand why, if you're clearing camps, maybe you consider Blood's Razor to be better, but I think the extra AP that you get would actually produce a similar result. And so again, let's have a look at the builds that they're going for. Graves going fairly standard, going for the Black Cleaver second. Now, against the team, there's not really much armor, so perhaps you might not think that that's great, but it does give him health, which will provide, well, it'll basically mean that the Fizz is even more ineffectual against him. That means that even if Akali gets onto him, he does stand a chance of winning out in the extended trade. The fact that Nasus here has managed to get a CS lead on Heimerdinger despite going Sheen into... He has gone an exceptionally greedy build, and he's still not being punished, which is frankly a worrying sign. But it looks like that there we go, it looks like Graves is being punished. The fish is whiffed from Fizz, but he's not going to be able to catch this one. The Blast King will be able to save Graves. And so, looks like he's going in for a trade on Nasus, but doesn't look like this trade's going out very well on him. And yeah, he gets punished by Nasus, but Heimerdinger does get the trade kill. That's good as well, but Graves comes in. Fairly simple, good Q R combo just to keep getting back out of range from Heimerdinger. And we can see, despite the fact that Blue actually is in the lead in terms of kills, Red team is far ahead in gold. And now I would imagine that this is mostly a jungle difference, so let's have a look at the gold. We can see that that is almost a 2,000 gold lead on Graves alone over the Fizz. You know, it's actually 1,800, but that is still an incredibly significant lead for only 15 minutes in the game. We can see that Nasus is even with Heimerdinger, and that Akali is now actually above in CS. But no time to look at the things, because again there is another kill in the bot lane, so let's see how this went down. Okay, so we have Jin in the bush, trying to protect himself, and he just gets caught out. And it looks like Katarina's there to punish Rakan. Is Rakan going to be able to escape? I would deem it very unlikely, but no. And unfortunately, that is another fish whiffed, and there's no world in which he wins that trade against Katarina. He's 3 levels down. He has no health. He can't survive against the burst to then put out his sustained damage, and it looks like he's doubling down on this sustained damage approach, going presumably for the Nash's Tooth next, which unfortunately under the circumstances is just not a good choice. He doesn't have the AP to back up the Nash's Tooth either. You know, maybe Nash's Tooth is something that I'd get as like a 3rd item, or maybe a 2nd item if I'd gone for the correct side, if I'd gone for the AP itemization in my jungle item. But yeah, it's not going to do him any good in this situation. Now there is now a fight here, and Akali is doing Akali things. A flash from Jin, but unfortunately,
Shut down.
and you can see even in this ideal situation where the Fizz finds himself in the perfect opportunity, this Blitzcrank isn't the most tanky of people, and his damage just isn't that great. But he does get a shutdown gold, so maybe he will be able to, you know, if he does get the Nash's Tooth, maybe he will pack a little bit more punch. But I have to say, his itemization is really letting him down this game. Now, I've seen that he's performed about 2 ganks in the early game. Graves hasn't been that active on the map either, but he has exerted a lot more pressure. Unfortunately, the Fizz pick is being punished heavily by Graves, who has literally just walked into Fizz's jungle, and there's been absolutely nothing that Fizz can do, because although his top lane does have pressure, he's not actually collapsing on Graves, and so, you know, unfortunately, as they say, counter jungling is a team effort, and it looks like that Graves, without coordination on the blue side, is just able to get away with just running into the jungle. Another missed fish. I have yet to see a fish be landed in this game by Fizz, and now we have a 2v2 trade, which that's just not a pleasant thing to watch. But in the bot lane, looks like we have more action here in the bot lane. They are going to be getting the turret up top, which is going to further extend the red team's gold lead. Something I'm interested to see at this point actually is looks like there is an unusual flash from Akali, but she does get the kill, and that's a good engagement from Akali, which will net Akali the kill. Akali is their 1 win condition, but unfortunately, whilst they've managed to secure kills bot lane, once again, the other team have actually managed to get objectives. Now Nasus has 348 stacks, which for this stage in the game is actually really quite good. But to be honest, Nasus is not really a factor in this game. He can exert a lot of side pressure, but I think the main issues for the blue team are going to be this Graves and Katarina. So we're in a bit of a quiet moment at this point. Red team have a 2k gold advantage, which is not insurmountable by any means. I wonder if Graves... Graves is 2,500 ahead of this Fizz by himself. Which means that there are some members on the blue team who are actually ahead of their counterparts, and we can see Akali is 2k gold ahead of Katarina. And Nasus is 1k cold ahead of Heimerdinger, so really it is a massively seesawy game amongst the different roles. However, looking at the team comps and seeing how well do they scale into the late game, I would say that it is fairly even. Although I would say that Red team has a tank in Nasus, who as you can see is literally just stacking. I mean, he doesn't need to worry about any pressure because Red team are just completely putting down this pressure in the bottom lane. But it looks like there's a fight trying to be engaged here. Oh, looks like that. I mean, let's have a look at that team fight again. So, Rakan tries to engage a team fight, and you can see this Fizz is so squishy. He gets absolutely annihilated before being so much able to touch his opponents. Now, the red team successfully disengage after this, although Heimerdinger does Blitzcrank. This Blitzcrank has been exceptionally greedy this entire game, but it looks like Graves, being as strong as he is just able to just waltz him. Meanwhile, Draven was just able to take down the mid turret, and to be honest, I don't really. This gold lead, which was only 2k a couple of minutes ago, has swelled to a ginormous 6.5k gold lead. And honestly, I do not see how blue team find their way back into this game. Rakan has a good engage, but what team fight do you actually see winning? You would ideally just want Akali to be able to find those picks on the side, but she's not strong enough to face Nasus. Talking of which, he's currently being mobbed by 3 members. He has no mana either. He has so little mana he cannot even Q. If that was 1 Q onto the Fizz, that he would have been able to trace that kill. And Draven, who goes to help him, is going to end up being punished as well. And looks like red team is just wishing to hand. This is absolutely awful from the red team have almost handed them. And the red team have handed them an ace out of absolutely nowhere. This play all started from Nasus pushing on 0 mana right up to the enemy's in-hit turret. And from that, all 5 red team members have had themselves kills, and this gold lead, which was at 6k, is now back at 3. This gold lead is absolutely swinging with. I mean, this is unbelievable. I can't believe these professional players are making these hefty mistakes. Now, looks like blue team are going to now pick up their first Drake of the game, and it looks like they've lucked out in that they've actually got themselves an Earth Drake, which would usually be considered better than the Air Drake, but actually, to be honest, I think the Air Drake would have actually benefited them more in this case because they are looking to make catches. I think in these sort of games the Air Drake is actually really quite good. In this team fight here, we have the Draven just going absolutely wild, but that crit from Jin at the end does finish him off. And the red team is just giving the lead back to the blue team. I don't think can Graves fight this one. I don't know. I think this Graves could if you look at his itemization right now. Somewhat unusual build to go for the Phantom Dancer, given the way that crit itemization has changed. I mean, it does give you tankiness, so you know it's not a bad item by any means, but I feel like a Death Stance would have been more beneficial. Oh, Graves is going to fight Heimerdinger here. Does get away with his life. Jumping into Heimerdinger is generally considering a bad move, given their team comp, I think Graves is actually a more of Malmortius would be absolutely fantastic, but gets punished accordingly for sticking around too long, although Kali does have to expect her flash. Blue team are pushing up the mid. Katarina does not really have any safe wave clear, and actually I think she will... I mean, I don't expect Jin to... Well, Katarina cannot defend this. But yet blue team, instead of choosing to push up on the... This is absolutely disgustingly bad macro from the blue team. If blue team had kept pushing mid, they could have gotten in him absolutely easily. But instead, they're just going to pick up a blitzcrank kill. Unfortunately, I think it's this macro which is going to cost blue team the game, because, you know, while the gold is even, they could have easily got themselves an inhib, because Katarina on half health was not going to be able to defend that. But again, we're going to have to look on that. The Fizz coincidentally did manage to get a trade kill, and is now currently going for what I presume is a wit's end. I'm not sure of this itemization myself. I mean, again, you are just doubling down on your strategy. I mean, in an ideal situation where the opponent stands still and you're able to auto-attack them, you are going to do an immense amount of damage. Oh, another fish, another whiff. Now, I haven't seen Fizz land a fish this entire game, however, you know, maybe he has done it off screen while I haven't been seeing him. With a 3, 8 and 5, he's, you know, still 3,500 gold behind Graves, and he is actually the poorest person on his team outside of Rakan, so he has not had a good game for himself. Oh, and Akali gets hooked, and I think that could be pretty good, but Rakan with a good counter engage. Ooh, Jesus Christ, that is a phenomenal amount of AoE by the red team. But blue team do manage to escape for the most part. I expect Rakan to die. There we go. Akali should be able to make her get away, yeah, with the Twilight Shroud. However, red team could very well go for Baron, and in fact, given the champions that they have left, I reckon Baron would be the place for them to go, but Blitzcrank making one of the plays that he's literally just walked into the blue base, and I mean, this Blitzcrank has made plays that are way too ballsy, but this Akali has... Yeah, I can see what Akali was doing, but when you only have 2 members against 4, you should pick your fights better. However, fortunately, due to the Blitzcrank taking so much damage from his escapades through Blue's base, he does actually get taken down. And the red team only get a inhibitor turret for their troubles, which could have easily been a Baron, but again, it seems like that the blue team should be losing this game, but the red team don't want to give it to them. Or don't want to take him, trying to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Now back to these item builds. Yep, that's definitely Wit's End for the Fizz. Heimerdinger going for the Morellonomicon, which is a good choice considering the amount of sustain that they have on the red side. And Akali also has Morellonomicon. They're making a Baron call here. They do... Now that they have... Oh, Rakan makes a bit of a mistake there. He's going to lose. I don't know. It's a very risky call from the blue team, but despite the fact that they saw them on Baron, the red team isn't collapsing. I just, in what world does this sort of, well, in the lower depths of elo, I guess, because this play should just not be happening. Blitzcrank does land a hook on Jin. Ooh. I think that is the end of Akali. But meanwhile, whilst that fighting is going on, Nasus is just... I mean, at this point... Oh, and another. Draven does get the kill on Fizz, but Fizz gets a return kill, and Nasus is absolutely absurdly fed now. He has got 666 stacks. He does get killed, which does allow Blue Team to defend. This gold lead is only 3k, but looking at the comps, it looks like that if Red Team actually managed to win themselves a team fight, they will have won the game. But Blue Team is... yeah, that's the Wit's End completed. Akali has not yet finished her Rabadons. She does have Zhonya's, which is definitely necessary against this comp. You know, looking at this fight, Graves has gone an Infinity Edge, which, considering you have already Opsin to aid, you know, the crit itemization, it does make sense. I feel like that a more Malmortius and Death's Dance would... Oh my god, that is exceptionally poor itemization. Sorry, a poor play by the Heimerdinger, just launching his W out of the bush. The combo, what you want to be doing here is you want to be Eing, and then whilst the E is in the air, landing a Q and W, and then using your ult. In fact, if anything, then landing your alt W rather than your standard W, and then that would have netted you the kill. However, because of his poor choice of combo, he just gives Katarina a free kill, and I honestly think this is, you know, pretty much the end times. Red Team managed to get themselves a top turret, and unfortunately Blue Team, without Heimerdinger, don't really have an effective wave clear. Only the Baron minions are preventing Red Team from just stealing their entire base away. That was a very big crit from Jin, however, that is a flash used and no kill game, so that is actually a one trade. I think that Red Team are going to win this fight because, oh, Rakan goes in on his own, gets killed. Oh, Kali goes in, gets instantly blown up. You do have the two strongest members at this point. Taken down on either side. I actually think Nasus is actually more effectively stronger than anyone else on the red team, and Kali is definitely the strongest person. Does finish her death cap.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
5k gold lead, which at this point in the game doesn't really make... Oh! Fizz gets utterly blown up. He's incredibly squishy. You know, doesn't even have a Zhonya's to protect himself. I mean, red team are going to back off, it looks like. Oh, but Rakan goes in again. Oh, goes in with quickness, but gets grabbed by the Blitzcrank back into the team. Heimerdinger looks like he wants more. They're going to try and chase him down, but you're not going to be catching Katarina. And once again, whilst all this is going down, we have a Nasus who's utterly destroying the blue team. That's... I think this... And that's the game. even with the meager advantages blue team were able to eke out, Nasus was just destroying their base in the meantime. And that is a game with a red victory. Honestly, never looks like blue team has a chance. Red team did slip up often. Unfortunately, the blue team was just so weak and disorganised. They didn't have the necessary CC to deal with the red team's main damage threats in Nasus and Katarina. So unfortunately, with only one strong member it felt like on the blue team, they were always destined to lose. And let's go to the post-game lobby. And that's the end of my recording. Let's stop that now.